Hi everyone, my name's Aaron and this is G3 Media's Comic Book Corner, and today we're actually, instead of doing a review or an analysis of anything recently, we're going to take a step back. We're going to jump back almost 2 years ago, the last time it was answered, and we're going to discuss Tom Brevoort. Now Tom Brevoort is, an amazing editor. He's a great person to have at Marvel. However, he has a form spring, and he likes to weigh in on questions that people have. Now, first and foremost, I'd like to point out that I am not, for whatever reason, a critic of Tom Brevoort as a person. Just his answering for certain things with, that form spring account. At one point he's saying that, Thor doesn't have any better reflexes than the rest of us. But there he is, fighting at the speed of light out with the Silver Surfer. Things of that, that Steve Rogers isn't superhuman. Okay, sure. I personally disagree with that. The Super Soldier Serum certainly makes him well above peak human. But, whatever. He's not the word of God on anything. Really. There's nothing from Marvel that comes out and says, Tom Brevoort is the be-all, end-all, final say of any questions or any material in Marvel. As a matter of fact, one of the less frequently seen quotes of his is about how he, it's only on the page is what matters. What shows up in print. The interviewers can be wrong. He views himself as a expert on these matters, but people can be wrong. There's a lot of canon there. And so with that in mind, he says, well, it's on the page that matters. And so with that in mind, we're actually going to delve back into his statement that Marvel The End is non-canon. Now, in Marvel The End, it's a storyline in which Thanos finds an artifact called the Heart of the Universe. It is an artifact that, depending on who you ask, either allows him to glimpse a portion of the One Above All's power, directly connects him with the One Above All. It in some way, shape, or form allows him a fraction of the One Above All's power, making him what is essentially omnipotent. He beats the Living Tribunal, Eternity, Infinity, all the cosmic abstracts, all the people, all simultaneously, all at once. And it's impressive, and it's a great story. I loved it when it first came out. I think it came out back in 2006, somewhere in there. It's old. I was still in Montana when it came out. And it's a great story for me. Tom Brevoort, his official stance is that it's non-canon, and that it's non-canon because it was a The End project, and all Marvel The End projects are therefore non-canon. Okay, so we're going to do a brief rundown of the canon chain that stems out from Marvel The End. Hopefully it's a way of explaining to anybody at home why Marvel The End is a canon storyline, despite what Tom Brevoort chooses to represent for himself. Because once again, it's what's on the pages that matters. Now, in Marvel The End, as I said, Thanos receives the Heart of the Universe. Now, the next storyline that we see Thanos actively in is Thanos Redemption. Now, originally it was called Thanos. It was just his own run of comics. It was a great storyline. I loved it. But they renamed it for Trades Redemption. So for the sake of easier finding it, if you want to fact check me, it's Thanos Redemption. Now, in Thanos Redemption, Adam Warlock comes looking for Thanos after the events of Marvel The End. So there's your first tie-in right there. Additionally, when speaking, they directly tie those two books together by referencing The End right there in the first issue of Redemption. That's a big factor. Now, sure, you could say that it's one storyline. That storyline becomes non-canon along with The End. Except, at the end of Redemption, Thanos basically captures and brainwashes Galactus' first herald, the Forgotten One. And in doing so, that sets the stage for the next event you see Thanos in, called Annihilation. Now, Annihilation was a huge Marvel crossover. And one of the catalyzing events, that's totally not the right word, either way, one of the big events that occurs is that Thanos is able to capture and weaponize Galactus. Now, that's impressive, but Thanos can't do that on his own. How did he do that? He sent the Forgotten One to get Tenrebus and Aegis two primordial gods, not quite as powerful as Galactus, but as a team, they're up there. And by doing so, was able to win them over to his side so that they could get revenge on Galactus for slights that he did, transgressions against them. And ends up basically jumping Galactus with the two of them, knocking Galactus out, and then he captures Galactus and weaponizes him. So, Marvel the End directly leads into redemption, and redemption, by its actions, directly leads into, right back into annihilation. Now, bear in mind that there's also a part during redemption where Thanos puts the Cubic, or whatever the Beyonder was going by at the time, the sentient cosmic cube, into a pseudo-coma. That comes up later when that being is finally killed, re-releasing the Beyonder into the universe. So it ties in further there. Now, the further we go in here, so annihilation, at the end of it, Thanos is finally killed. Thanos has his heart ripped out by Drax, in what Thanos recognizes as his personal weakest form. And this was all allowed to happen because, Drax was an avatar of life. Therefore, one of the only beings that could kill Thanos, and Death was finally willing to let Thanos be by her side. One of the last scenes that you see is Richard Rider looking up to Thanos and Death looking over him. That's a great little couple panels there. But what that means right there is we have the end, redemption, annihilation. Annihilation leads directly into Annihilation Conquest, a storyline in which Ultron takes over the Phalanx. It's a great book. Give it a read. One of my favorite crossover events. It's a cosmic event. It's just a very good storyline. That itself sets up for, in small ways, Marvel Now, and Ultron's return to Earth. But we'll get into that. And later the Age of Ultron event, because Marvel likes to capitalize on its movies coming out. It's fine. But Annihilation Conquest leads directly into War of Kings. War of Kings is Black Bolt, against Vulcan, and it's a whole big ordeal that ends when Black Bolt, detonates a bomb that rips open the fabric of time-space in a place called the Fault. The Fault then becomes a recurring location and theme for multiple cosmic titles that culminates in the Thanos Imperative, one of the last events of the Marvel continuity before they switched over to Marvel Now. In the Thanos Imperative, Thanos is resurrected from death, partially by Adam Warlock throwing him into a regenerative cocoon, and partially by Death needing an avatar in the oncoming battle with a universe comprised of nothing but life, the Cancerverse. So Thanos' death in Annihilation is immediately referenced here at the very beginning of Thanos Imperative. And Thanos Imperative goes on to end when Richard Rider and Star-Lord, using a cosmic cube and the entirety of the Nova Force, trap Thanos in the Cancerverse. Now, that sets the stage right there for Marvel Now. In Marvel Now, you also have Age of Ultron, which is brought about from the Ultron drone landing on Earth, or the Ultron body landing on Earth in the Marvel Now. I think it was one of the .1 issues. So Annihilation Conquest directly leads in there, and then Thanos Imperative directly leads into Avengers Assemble. The first big storyline in Avengers Assemble is the Avengers fighting a new Zodiac. The Zodiac, you find out, are receiving all of their power from a newly returned Thanos. Thanos having just recently come back from the Cancerverse. Now, at the end of Thanos Imperative, Thanos swears vengeance against the Earth and the universe in general, but specifically against Earth for the perceived slights of Nova and Star-Lord. So Thanos now starts this pathology of this almost obsession with Earth. This continues all the way on till Infinity. Infinity, one of the big Marvel crossover events, a Hickman brainchild, so it's beautiful. And one of the big things is that storyline itself spins out two little spin-offs. One is Thanos Rising, an entirely new Thanos backstory and origin story that is now his only considerable canon and backstory. The other one is Thanos that got up there and listening, which we'll get to here in a second. In Infinity, you find out that a portion of why Thanos is so obsessed with Earth is his vengeance, but also their space in the universe, or their lot in the universe. All of this turns out to be a lie, however, in that his real interest in Earth comes from the fact that his son, and a human named Thane, is on that planet. And that this is the last child he conceived during his piracy years, see also Thanos Rising, that he needs to kill to appease death. Or some other gibberish like that. I'm not a personal fan of the reworking of Thanos' backstory or the shoehorning in of Thane, but it is what it is. So, at the end of Infinity, Thanos gets trapped in basically a big living block of amber, along with Prox Midnight and Corvus Glaive, two of his generals in the Black Order. Now, directly following that is the storyline I Got Up There and Listening, in which Ebony Maw, who has now infested Thane's mind, is telling him a story of a much younger Thanos in one of his first big bids for power, and that was directly attacking Ego, the Living Planet. And so you get some more fill into the backstory. Now, as time goes by, we get the Time Runs Out storyline. Time Runs Out is the 8 months leading up to the event that would end the Marvel multiverse as it stood. And in that, Thanos has been recruited to and then subsequently taken over the Cabal from Namor. And they've traveled to repeated planets identical to Earth, in different universes, Earth, XXXXX, and we're from Earth 616, and they've slaughtered every person on the planet and destroyed the planet itself so that the universes wouldn't die. Which is great. In theory, you're putting Thanos on a planet of all of Earth's heroes and basically letting him kill and work through a lot of aggression, I guess. Now, at the same time, we also get Thanos Annual #1, which fills in the gap after Thanos' first defeat by Captain Marvel when he was utilizing the Cosmic Cube, and the events afterwards, and set the stage for all these events that would come after it, leading all the way up through the new Infinity Trilogy that was coming out. It also reconfirms the existence of the Heart of the Universe in this, what's viewed as a canon storyline, and connects multiple storylines together. Following that is the Infinity storyline, not the Infinity storyline, but the Secret Wars storyline and the Infinity Trilogy. In Secret Wars, Thanos plays a very large part, eventually having his skull and spinal column ripped out by a Molecule Man-powered Doctor Doom, Beyonder power, whatever you have. Now, back on topic, there is then, as I said, Secret Wars, in which ends with Thanos having his body, obliterated by Doctor Doom, but also the Infinity Trilogy, the new one. Now, the new Infinity Trilogy takes place at multiple points in time, both before and after Secret Wars. The Infinity finale taking place after the Civil War 2015 storyline. However, these books also confirm in multiple points. At the beginning of Revelation, they confirm the Heart of the Universe existed, and at the end of Finale, Thanos and Adam Warlock actually have a conversation with the One Above All, or Above All Others, what have you, about Thanos' time with omni-reality perception, or his omniscience that he gained in when he got the Heart of the Universe. So, the next thing to remember is that Secret Wars set the stage for the new Marvel Omniverse, and all the things spinning thereout of. So, let's go back from this chain. Without Marvel the End, you have no redemption. Without redemption, you have no annihilation. Without annihilation, you have no conquest. Without conquest, you have no War of Kings. And without War of Kings, you have no imperative. Without imperative, you don't get Avengers Assemble, and you don't get Age of Ultron. Without those two things, you do not get Infinity, Time Runs Out, the new Infinity Trilogy, or Secret Wars 2015. And without Secret Wars 2015, you do not get the new Marvel Omniverse that occurred. You also lose Thanos' only official backstory as of now, and you take giant chunks out of a newly established backstory for Thanos. So, what's on the page matters, according to Tom Brevoort. And according to Tom Brevoort, people can be wrong. Well, given the fact that his last statement on Marvel the End was 2 years ago, almost exactly, back in August 2014, I believe, from what I was able to find. Since then, people have continued to acknowledge Marvel the End as canon to the rest of the Marvel Universe and build off of it further. So the implication here is that either Tom Brevoort is wrong, misinformed, or his information is outdated. Or the fact that nothing since Marvel the End in Marvel is canon. And that there is currently no canon Marvel Omniverse, and that none of it ever happened. And that Thanos has no backstory. In this particular case, I'm going to take a long canon chain over Mr. Brevoort's statement. But what you choose is up to you. This is simply G3, Comic Book Corner, with some enlightening information, and the canon chain. Copyrighted trademarks. You guys have a wonderful night.